Leather chaps and road names do not make you a biker. Let's get into it.
RevelatorAlf.
Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. So this video is all about stereotypes, I suppose, and what people think makes them a biker. And well, I suppose over the last sort of 20 or 30 years, yeah, more and more people have got into this biker way of riding, or a lifestyle as they like to call it, but it isn't really. They're acting a role, they're acting a part for some people, not all people, but for some people. And it kind of makes you question, well, what are they believing? What are they thinking? Now, we all know, especially, let's say, in the Harley-Davidson or the cruiser world, let's say, the V-twin world, there's a lot of people who love to dress up. Let's put it that way. And there's a lot of people who like to wear, you know, leather waistcoats and all that kind of stuff, and you know, almost give the impression that they're part of some kind of motorcycle club, but they're not, you know, or they're part of a riding organization, but they're not. You know, so people, you know, they start dressing in certain ways, leather waistcoats, leather chaps sometimes. I mean, I don't know where the hell that came from, but there you go. It's very much an American thing. I know it's definitely not over here in the UK. Well, certainly not I've seen anyway. But, you know, people adopt these road names as well, which I get it. I get people have sort of nicknames for the road and all that kind of stuff, especially if you're in a group. But just because you adopt all that does not make you a biker, because actually, what is a biker? What is it that you're trying to portray? You're just trying to conform to what other people think that you should be. It's a bit of an odd one, and people have a lot of conflict with this, and also people get into trouble over this very thing because they start acting in a way that just isn't them, and it's kind of misplaced as well. Now, many people, of course, who ride bikes, you know, they go in 100% into this kind of lifestyle, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But it's those people who don't and just do it at the weekend, let's say, that's where the conflict comes from. Look, don't get me wrong, it's really great that you find a hobby, and it's really great that you find a pastime. But for me, being a biker is not about just buying a bike and riding it and being a biker. You know, if we want to expand the term of being a biker, yes, for me, being a biker is just somebody who rides a bike. But if you're talking about adopting a lifestyle, then it's not just about doing it at a weekend, or it's not just about doing it when the sun is shining. It's actually living it. It's actually living and breathing it. And you can't do it overnight. For me, you've got to have been doing it a long period of time. And it doesn't necessarily mean either that you start wearing all the leather stuff and, you know, giving yourself road names as well. Because I know some of the biggest bikers out there have got nothing to do with any of that kind of stereotype either. It's about what you got in here, and also what you got up there, but it's what you got in there. What you wear, for me, makes no difference at all. Now, for some, it would, of course, and if you're in a particular group or a club that you need to identify yourself, yeah, I get that. That's a separate issue. But most people who kind of get into this, you know, they buy themselves a Harley, you know, a brand new one, you know, they don't even have to get a mortgage for it. They just go and splash the cash on it, right? Yes, you know, that's another issue as well. You know, more and more people have got into buying bikes over the last sort of 20 or 30 years. It's become fashionable. You know, there's been lots of films, lots of TV shows that have kind of perpetuated this myth, this bad boy image as well. And people have kind of latched onto that and say, well, I've got a really boring life. I've got a really boring job. You know, I do everything I should. I want a bit of outlaw, you know, just for a couple of hours on a Saturday or a Sunday. And it's kind of fed into that. Then you get, you know, it's husband and wife teams, you know, doing it. And then they start saying, oh, you know what, we're going to set up our own motorcycle club. They might be legitimate, but it's changed. And everybody wants a piece of the pie. And, you know, maybe that pie wasn't ready to be divided up in the first place. And for some riders and some bikers, let's say, they might ride a Harley-Davidson or an Indian, could be Kawasaki, could be any bike, a Triumph, whatever it is. That doesn't matter. What matters is what you feel inside and how you regard yourself. And for some people, they can start changing, and you know who I'm talking about. You know who I'm on about, because we've all met them. that 1 minute they're, you know, dressing in a suit, the next minute they're dressing in, you know, all leather, you know, and they're playing the part, you know, or all of a sudden they've never worn a pair of boots in their life, the next minute they're wearing boots, you know, or all that kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, you know, they dress a certain way at a weekend, and in the week they're doing something completely different. There's nothing wrong with that per se, but it's not being a biker. That's just dress up. For me, that's just dress up. Now I suppose you could volley this at anybody, you know, who takes up a new pastime and they start adopting, you know, the clothing and the hairstyles and the boots or whatever it is, you know. Yes, there's no doubt. You could volley it at sports fans, I don't know, racing fans, whatever it is. I get it, and that is not the criticism here. But it's just where people might think they put on an item of clothing, or they suddenly put on a patch road name, or where they put on some kind of colour of something, all of a sudden they are part of that group or part of that world. And it doesn't always make it so, no matter how hard they try. Now for some it becomes naturally, and for some, you know, it's just part of what they want to be, and there's no problem in that either. But for others, you can tell that it's not really part of them. They're just doing it because they think it's a uniform that they need to wear, and maybe there is no such uniform. The only uniform that you need is just the way you act, and maybe that's the best advice anybody should have. You know, just be yourself, do your own thing. You don't have to dress in a certain way, you don't have to adopt whatever you want to adopt. I mean, obviously it depends. If you're joining a group or a club, that's a different thing, of course, but I'm just saying about regular people here suddenly getting into motorcycling for whatever reason, no matter what style, and then automatically start to dress or act in a certain way, and it may not be required. Let's put it that way. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, but don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell, like and share. Check out the website RevelatorAlf.com. Ta-da!